Hi again then guys, and so we've got another updated top speed setup for you today, and this time it's for one of the most highly requested cars on my channel for both reviews and tuning. It's the Toyota 7. Interestingly, it's one of only two Can-Am race cars that I'm aware of that are currently on the game. This and of course the Chaparral 2J. But this updated tune, I'm happy to tell you guys, increases its performance by quite a significant margin. I mean, it wasn't exactly slow anyway, but it's a lot quicker now. So I would recommend having racing soft tyres to get the best of straight line performance out of it. For brakes, I've increased the rear balance to 6. That's personal preference though, that's not essential for the tune. For the suspension, you want the rear ride height as low as possible and the front 20mm higher. Any lower than that and you sacrifice a bit of top speed. Any higher than that and you start to sacrifice handling. So I wouldn't really recommend having it any higher than that. Springs we've got on 16 front and rear. You want 1 on the compression aspect of the dampers and 3 on extension. Anti-roll as low as possible. Camber and toe neutral. For the gearbox, an auto setting of 230. Then for the individual gears, 2.6, 1.6, 1125, 850 and 600 with a final drive of 3.4. For the diff, low initial torque to reduce that massive wheel spin, high acceleration and low braking. You want your high RPM turbo obviously, and your downforce set to the minimum. Traction control I would always recommend turning off. And this is one of those vehicles which kind of falls into a little bit of a no man's land on GranTurismo, because it's certainly good in its own way. In fact, in some ways, it's actually one of the best cars in the game. It's significantly lighter than most of the other racing cars in the game. It's lighter than pretty much anything except a Formula car. And it has one of the highest PP ratings of any car in the game. It actually has the second highest PP of any real racing car in the game, second only to the Lotus 97T. That's not, of course, counting cars which aren't real, like the Red Bull and the Tomahawk, or cars which, to clarify, don't actually achieve that performance in real life. So pretty impressive overall for a car that's from 1970. But the problem is, despite its insane specs, and it does have an absolutely monstrous power-to-weight ratio, it just doesn't really deliver on that in actual performance. The Chaparral 2J, for instance, can absolutely wipe the floor with this car on most tracks. Even with this updated tune, the Chaparral is still quicker for top speed. Now that said, my existing tune for this car was already pretty rapid, did about 275. This tune does 286, so I'm happy to say a massive increase of 11 miles per hour on this one. And that really is a big increase for a racing car on this game. As far as draft potential, there's not tons and tons of it. You've got around 500 or 600 RPM. So you should be able to quite easily draft it up to around 300. Not much more than that though, I wouldn't have thought. So if you do need it to do more than that, say the Minolta region of around 320-ish, then you will want to extend the final drive a little bit lower. However, you do need to bear in mind that by extending the final drive, although it does give you more slipstream potential, on this car in particular, it does very quickly degrade your cruising speed. So even if you lower it by 0.100, you will of course get more slipstream potential, but your cruising speed will drop from 286 quite quickly. It will immediately drop to say 284 or 283, and even more as you extend it further. So as with all of my updated racing tunes, it depends what you need it for. I've designed this to be fast under its own power with a little bit of draft potential, so it depends what you need. Overall, it's certainly an interesting alternative to some of the other racing cars in the game. It's certainly an interesting alternative to the Le Mans prototypes. And a lot faster than it already was. The handling is also very good, primarily due to the ultra low weight, which reduces the pendulum effect around corners, the centrifugal force that sends the car towards the outer rim of the corner, the Huayra effect. But with this car that doesn't happen because it's got such a tiny amount of weight to deal with, and it's certainly a quick car in a straight line. So if you decide to use this updated tune, obviously I hope you find it fun, and it's a lot more competitive than it already was. And if you're new to the channel and would like to keep up with tunes like this as soon as they come out, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.